Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Katya Kurdyavtseva and I'm a curator of Bluemner at Stetson exhibition History. I would like to start with acknowledgements. First of all, I would like to thank the first curator of Bluemner collection at Stetson, Dr. Roberta Favis, for her incredible intellectual kindness and sharing her experience as the curator. I would like to thank the former director of Hand Art Center, Tonya Kriep, for encouraging me to take risks and actually start curatorial experience. And I would like to thank my colleagues, Dr. Michael Fowler and Dr. Daniil Zavlunov, for always supporting my weird endeavors. I would like to thank the current director of the Hand Art Center, James Pearson, for his incredible help over the winter break with framing and installation. So thank you all. Okay, so for everybody who is experiencing this exhibition virtually, we will do a gallery walk. Our narrative starts here with the wall featuring, as you can see, 3 panels listing every single Oskar Bluemner exhibition at Stetson. The number is 26. Actually, this is 28 exhibitions. So 2 shows that were created this year were devoted to Bluemner at Stetson, institutional history and this exhibition history. So 26 shows which are all represented on this, what I call an eye wall, because there is a huge eye located at the center of the wall. And just looking at this wall, we understand how much the curators of Stetson collection brought to the spectators, right? And we see this incredible labor of seeing, labor of looking at the diverse aspect of Oskar Bluemner's creative practice. Here we actually just looking at all these multiple frames on the wall, we can kind of see in a very, very condensed way the visual experience that was prepared by curators of Oskar Bluemner at Stetson. So we see different topics that were covered, and also we see the variety of artworks and styles that were shown to the spectators. This wall features a panel devoted to Roberta Favis, the first curator, which lists her publications on Oskar Bluemner. So we have a photograph of beautiful Roberta, and we have a cover of American Art magazine featuring a work from Stetson's Oskar Bluemner collection. I'm especially happy that this work by Bluemner is featured here, because it was a work that was put on the cover of the catalog, the published catalog of Oskar Bluemner at Stetson, written and produced by Roberta. Then we have several panels that feature different approach to the practice of curation. We have images of exhibition posters produced by our student curators, as well as installation shots from an exhibition which was an artistic collaboration between the contemporary artist, digital artist, Madison Creech, and Oskar Bluemner. The last wall is called Bluemner on the Road, and it features multiple venues where Oskar Bluemner's works from Stetson collection were exhibited. It features museums in Washington, D.C., a private gallery in New York, and of course, a very prominent place is dedicated to the works by Bluemner that traveled to Whitney Museum of American Art Oscar Bluemner retrospective, which again was a very, very important show that cemented Oscar Bluemner's legacy. It's also very important to remember that we didn't just get the artworks, we also got some archival materials. And so those archival materials exhibited in this cabinet were shown at the Cezanne and American Modernist exhibition, which was a traveling show. And as you can see, we see these different catalogs that were annotated by the artist. Again, highlighting the meticulous nature of his artistic practice. We also have several installation shots from exhibits that were curated by Dr. Faves at different venues other than Stetson. For example, we can see the exhibition Oscar Bluemner's America, picture in Paterson, New Jersey, which was shown in Montclair Art Museum in New Jersey. And also Oscar Bluemner highlights from the Vera Bluemner Cuba collection, which was mounted at Vera Beach Museum of Art. Now that we are done with the gallery walk of the exhibition, we will proceed to the gallery talk. So, this is an exhibition about exhibitions, right? Sounds a little bit redundant. Why do that, right? I mean, exhibition happened, they passed, so why bring it all up? Actually, I think it's very, very important because people coming to museum rarely realize that they are not standing in front of Warhol, Velázquez, or Bluemner in our case, but actually what they're experiencing is a highly mediated thing, right? They are looking at the visual narrative that was created for them by a curator. And this is especially relevant to Oscar Bluemner because most of the works that we have here at Stetson, they are sketches for larger works. What that means, they actually were not really meant to be exhibited. And yet here we go, we exhibit them. So who is in charge of this process of selecting the works and creating a particular narrative for the spectator? It's the curator. So then you're in a museum, again, you are never looking directly at the works, right? Your experience is guided and controlled. So I think it's very important to understand the role of the curator in preserving the legacy of a certain artist. Then Vera Bluemner Cuba was thinking about the future of the collection. She actually had options. The collection was estimated at $2.6 million and she could have easily sold it. But she did not want to do that. She wanted her collection to be at Stetson because she truly believed that Stetson as an institution could preserve the legacy of her artist father. And Stetson did exactly that. Well, Dr. Roberta Smith has a lot to do with this process. Then Stetson received the collection, these multiple drawings and sketches. They were not really dated, they were not titled. So before putting anything on the walls, Roberta had to do a massive research. By the time we got the collection, there was only one monograph published on Oscar Bluemner. Then you read the first checklist, you actually can see the thinking, the rationale behind the titles, behind the dating, as Roberta would be comparing particular sketches to the finished paintings that were published in this monograph, trying to figure out how to place those works. So this work alone was monumental. Then the Hand Art Center was built. Roberta would be preparing 2 exhibitions a year. So each semester it would be new exhibition. And if you think about it, it's a very tricky proposition because you are mounting the exhibitions of works produced by singular artists. So on one hand, it's actually very great that you have this massive collection. On the other hand, it's very difficult to keep up the interest of the spectators. According to the statistics, viewers spend about 4 seconds in front of an artwork, right, and they move on. Roberta had to come up with a visual narrative that would actually keep the viewers coming in every semester. Again, that was difficult to achieve. And so what she did, each time she would provide the spectators with this visual and intellectual puzzle. Roberta often compared her labor as an art historian to that of a detective, right? So every time you are researching something, as if you are unraveling this detective story. And I love this comparison a lot, not only because I truly love detective stories, which are my guilty pleasure, but because I think it actually explains what an art historian does. Curating an exhibition, it's not about just placing something on the walls, right? It's about researching a very particular aspect of an artist's creative activity. So if we look at the panels that list Roberta's exhibits, and if we look at the titles, we actually see how with each new exhibit she would be introducing all these diverse works. So for example, like one year she did an exhibit that featured black and white drawings by Bluemner, which is a very bold move if you think about it, because Bluemner, as you look at the works around you, are all about color, right? And then she did this, like, you know, before that it was color, and then you come to this exhibit and this is like a visual shock. You are looking at this absolutely gorgeous black and white drawings, but nonetheless black and white, right? So it's always this oscillation in order to show this very, very different aspects of Oskar Bluemner. Roberta, as an art historian, was also very much interested not only in formal elements of the painting, in color, lines, shapes, and so forth, but also in social political context, right? So she always situated the works created by Bluemner as they were created in the United States in 1910s, 1920s, and 1930s. And she actually uncovered how the social political situation also shaped his visual language. I would be remiss if I do not mention other curators of this collection. For example, one of the exhibits was curated by Dr. Susanne Jules, who is a professor of German at Stetson and who traveled back to Germany and made a series of photographs that documented the location of early Bluemner paintings, also creating this very interesting tension between the medium of painting and medium of photography, and also showing the changes in the landscape. After Roberta retired, we had 2 exhibitions that were curated by our magnificent, talented art history students. Abigail Ramsbottom created an exhibition devoted to the study of Bluemner's place within the art history canon, and Simone Crowley devoted her exhibition to exploration of color theories by Bluemner. I've started this speech with quoting the monetary estimate of Oskar Bluemner collection. So then we got this collection, I will repeat, it was estimated at $2.6 million. And if we look now, 10 works from that collection are estimated at a little bit over $3 million. So you can imagine the increase in value. Art is a very interesting thing. On one hand, when we talk about art, we don't want to tarnish or sully it with whole money work. On the other hand, I mean, art is a commodity, right? Like then we say art is priceless. Well, actually it's not. You know, it has monetary value. But of course, art is strange because it's not just the monetary value, it's the symbolic value as well that contributes to the increase of monetary value. Then people actually look at the prices. We have every reason to be proud of because our artist, Oskar Bluemner, is actually quite an expensive artist, as his large oil paintings are traded at, from $3 to $5 million, right? So how did it happen? Because then Oskar Bluemner committed suicide. There was like several decades then people were not writing about his art, and even though his works were already in the collections of major museums, still he was not considered, like his status was not as high as now. Well, symbolic value, we don't exactly know how it happens, but we do know that exhibitions do contribute to the symbolic value. And so do the publications in academic and more popular art journals. So in that sense, Roberta did a lot as the first curator of the collection, not only by preparing Bluemner's works for the exhibition, researching them, but also by publishing in very prestigious art magazines and also establishing connections with other museums, so Bluemner's works from Stetson could be seen in other multiple venues. And as you are looking at these works, as you are looking at the exhibition posters, and even if you don't believe in the importance of aesthetics, at least you will believe in monetary value. Everything on campus depreciates, except for the art of Oskar Bluemner.